Hi everyone, welcome to this very short, very brief, simple overview of sociology as a science. The reason it's brief and simplistic is because it looks like it's not going to be a 20 marker this summer in the 2022 exams based on the summer release information that AQA have provided. But it could come up as a 10 marker. If you want more information, I'm happy to do another video if people need more information on this, or this tutor to you, and there's loads of other videos out there that'll give you more information. Key thing that we're going to do for my students is we just want to create an essay plan. So you've got a paragraph on each essay paragraph so that if the question comes up, you can answer it. Four very simple things that you need to know. It's so physically it is possible. Can't, it's physically impossible. It should, that we should be trying to do it as a science, and we shouldn't be because it's a bad thing. Possible exam questions that you could have, there's loads of them. It could be as simplistic as outline and explain two reasons why sociology can be studied as a science. Very simplistic. As long as you've got a paragraph on can, can't, should, shouldn't, you should be fine. Right. Positivists are the ones who think it can be studied, that it's physically possible, and it's based on their research method views, right? So they're using scientific, numerical, quantitative data to study it. There's another video that goes alongside this, which is on values, and it links in with values because they look for objectivity, this idea of objective fact. So this comes from Antonio Comte, who came up with the idea of society can be looked at like the natural world. So like it's like the world out there, biology. So it can be studied in the same way. We can study society in exactly the same way just by observing what's going on and just seeing what's happening. Well, Durkheim takes this a little bit further in the late 1800s, and believed that social fact, so fact that is going on there, are observable and they are measurable. He used an empirical approach, so using numbers, very reliable scientific way to find patterns, and these patterns will help us understand what the problems in societies are. Now, something that was taken off the AQA spec in around about 2015 was the study of suicide, which Durkheim studied. However, it is still useful to tell you a little bit about it, because what he basically noticed, he was just looking, not searching for it, he was just observing the world, and he noticed, ah, there's an increase in suicides that are being reported. Um, Wonder why that is. And went out and did some research to find out patterns, trends, things that were similar in different societies. And he noticed that the decline in Catholicism, for example, was also leading to an increase in suicide. So countries that had a decline in Catholicism had an increase in suicide. Could be completely two add two equals five, but he basically said, look, there's a pattern, there's a trend there. There's also things that he noticed, such as an increase in individualism, an increase in materialism, and the need for money also led to an increase in suicide as well. But we could apply this to other things as well. Remember, when we're doing AO2s, you should just use what it is we've already got. So don't go looking for new AO2s, don't expect new AO2s, just use ones from family, education, media, crime, those who are doing other ones such as beliefs, whatever, just use the examples that we already have. So for example, educational results, I'll look at the results in August 2022 and we will see, boys are doing worse than girls. Last year, boys did worse than girls. The year before that, boys did worse than girls. So the social ill is that boys do worse than girls in education. There. So we've just used empirical data to just observe what's going on. I'm not looking specifically to find things. Okay. And as I say, that links in with the whole idea of values, which is a different video. Now, Durkheim believes we would do this using an inductive method. This is what makes it scientific. We have a theory, we have an idea, okay? And we use this theory, this idea. So to use his would be suicide, to use mine would be there's an educational difference between boys and girls. I don't know what that is yet or whatever, but I make a prediction based on this theory. And I design an experiment. Research methods would be quantitative, reliable, very much positivist research methods to test that prediction through an experiment or something like that. I perform the experiment, making sure I've got the variables kind of checked off and stuff like that. And then I would observe what's happened. So has my prediction of my theory come true? Yes or no? If it has, brilliant. Yay, I've proved it right. If it hasn't, then I would modify the theory, then I would modify the prediction, etc. Once we've noticed that something is happening in society, we make this hypothesis, we test it, just like a scientist do. Now, the key thing here is this verify. It's verification. If we prove our prediction correct, then that's it. We just stop. There's nothing else to do. We have made its prediction and it's proven right, just like scientists do. This apple will fall from my hand and hit the floor. Make the prediction. My experiment is holding an apple at head height. I leave it. I observe that it hits the floor. There we go. Done it. And I do that 400 times. And every time I drop an apple, it hits the floor. So I've proven my theory, my prediction completely correct using scientific methods. Now, big problem with that comes from the people who say you can't. Now, what's interesting with this can't is that um, it's kind of based on the idea that it's possible. It is actually possible to study sociology scientifically, but the problem is it can't because it doesn't hit certain things that science has to do. So Karl Popper said that it could be a science, but science isn't based on verification, it's falsification. What scientists have to do is to bend something so much that it snaps. And if it snaps, then it hasn't been proven right. If you can test something until it can no longer be tested ever again, and it still stands true, then you have falsified it. Um, it 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 overcomes the whole idea of falsification. So then you have proven it right by being physically unable to prove it wrong. The problem is society changes every single day. How you act, how I act, how Putin acts or whatever will change tomorrow. So then we can never ever really truly falsify the claim, because I can today say on in April 2022 that for the last 5,000 years we have been testing something and we have not been able to falsify it, so therefore it's true. The problem is there's always tomorrow which could falsify it. So for our AO2 example, Karl Marx predicted that at some point we would enter a stage of communism, and we would go through all of these stages. And we're just at the stage of capitalism at the moment. And the next thing is a revolution, and we enter communism. The problem is he's not right, but he's not wrong, because tomorrow there could be a revolution that would lead to communism, or the day after, or the day after. So society, it's impossible to falsify it. So based on that, Popper believes that we can't study sociology as a science, because for it to be a science, it has to be falsified, and society never ends, it will always continue. The second thing comes from Kuhn, who says that it could be a science, but science uses basic paradigms or a single paradigm. This is where scientists agree this is the way that we must research, and we are uncritical of it, and with just the way we do it. So if you think about the framework that you used to have when you were back in your science lesson at school, where you would go through that form that your teacher would give you about how you would carry out an experiment, you would do the same thing in the same order every time without question. For us to study sociology as a science, we need to have a single paradigm. The problem is we don't agree. Functionalists, Marxists, feminists, postmodernists, late modernists all disagree on society and the view of society and what society should be doing. Feminism alone cannot even agree with itself. It has different branches of feminism. We would all need to agree on a single way of studying society. The problem is we can't, because there's several views. So this is why we can't study society as a science. We should study society as a science, because science is, according to positivists, reliable objective fact. It can be done over and over and over again in the same way, and we can spot patterns and trends using reliable research methods. And if we can do that, then we can put things in place to try to fix the problems and the social ills. So, for example, if we spot that As divorce goes up and there's an increase in single parent, I'm going all Patricia Morgan on you here. As divorce goes up and we've got more single parent families and we've got more delinquency, then the prison population goes up. So there's a trend and a pattern, and then that gives someone something to fix. So it influences the policy. So science gives governments and people something to go, you know what, actually, that makes sense. I'll do something about it. Even if you go back to Giddens' research for Tony Blair, um, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not sure if it was using scientific methods, but what he found was there was a disparity between working class people going into university and middle class people going into university, and basically found out the reason was people couldn't afford to go into um, further education, they had to get a job. So they thought, well, we'll put something in place to give them that money. Um, it's still following a scientific method of getting those patterns and trends. It can be done fast, it can be done on a large scale. Durkheim was studying societies all over the world by using the same type of data from everywhere. So it can be done really easily, really fast. And that's another thing that the policymakers want, because they can find out dead quick using scientific quantitative methods. It means that we're not waiting 10 years to try to fix knife crime. We're not waiting 10 years to try to fix some other social ill. We can find out about it dead quickly. And we can also find out whether or not it's working dead quickly. Science is trusted by the public as well. When they stick them out on BBC News or whatever, saying like, from the professor from the University of Cambridge or whatever, you're going to trust them more than me, a sociology teacher, because they're a scientist and scientists know what they're doing, and like they base everything completely on objective, value-free information. It's trusted by the public, and the public understand numbers dead easy as well. Shouldn't. Anderson believes that science is the cause of the problem, so we shouldn't use the cause to try to fix the problem. So if you think about military science or weapons and the atomic bomb and nuclear bombs and things like that have caused major problems in the past. If we have a look at those kind of things, then that shouldn't be fixing the problem. The medical one's interesting. So in the 1950s, 1960s, to stop morning sickness, mothers were given formaldehyde, which was to stop them from feeling sick. And what actually happened was it caused birth defects, um, and like caused major harm. And so science shouldn't be fixing the problems that science has caused. Feminists would say that science is mainstream. Majority of scientists are men, and they say that the men would use science as a way of increasing the oppressive patriarchy of society. Really good example of this for your AO2 would be breast is best. Scientists say that breast milk is better than any other milk. Well, okay, but to be able to breastfeed children, generally the mother would need to be there. So this stops the mother from going into work. So this further oppresses them and makes them stay at home. That would be a radical feminist argument, obviously. So the fact that science is mainstream means and male dominated means that um, we shouldn't be trusting it because it's just a male's viewpoint. And an interpretativists obviously argue that we shouldn't be doing it because it lacks validity. We need to know why, how do people feel about this? We need to have a meaning behind it. So it's not just about identifying knife crime is on the increase and it's 16-year-old kids who are doing it. Interpretativists say that we can't use science because it doesn't tell us why that 16-year-old is turning to knife crime or why divorce is on the increase. It just tells us divorce is on the increase. We can't fix it if we don't know the reason behind something. And also, you can't put society in a laboratory. It's impossible to study society like any other science. Like you can't dissect society like you can dissect a pig. You can't um, control all the variables because there's certain things that are just completely outside of our control, and we can't fully replicate society in a laboratory. They're the main kind of reasons. Um, that's everything. Go back to the questions at the start to give you a bit of an idea. By all means, access some more videos. This was just a very basic overview just to give you